sweet is what we could say as a Packer fan. Unfortunately for Paul here, he can just enjoy this because this is a sweet Vikings win for him as he can watch as a fan. But for Packer fans, bittersweet is what we could say. It's bittersweet. But let's hit to the intro, folks.
This is Tom Grossi, and you're watching the PackReacts podcast. Let's go.
That's all they give him? That's all they give him?
Welcome to PackReacts here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Hadler, along with my other co-host, Mike Arvonio, and today we had a long game from last night, folks. If whoever's still awake from this, I know I am, barely, from the Packers tying with the Cowboys 40-40 and moved 2-1-1. Last time the Packers had a tie, guys, was when the Packers played the Vikings, and I was at that game. That was also brutal to watch as well. But high scoring, high intense game, what you get a win-win of a tie, folks. But let's welcome here, folks, from the Paul Farrington Show, Paul Farrington, a passionate Minnesota Vikings fan. Unfortunate for that to happen there. But has his own show where he discusses the football debates. He does his predictions. He's interviewed Tom Grossi, Andy Herman. He's also worked with, I believe, Colin Coward, if I'm correct on that, Paul?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. You have worked with him, and you mostly focus with the NFC North of just going over that division. And, of course, you also have your co-host with Jack and Z, who we did talk about before we started the show, as I'm doing right now. We're both teachers, and Paul is the only guy I didn't realize was not a teacher, folks. So that's the interesting fact, I'd say, for their podcast and their show. But, yeah. But thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it. I'm bailed out. I have to mention too. We have our producer Zach is the only he's the other non-teacher in the group. So it's nice to have a fellow non-teacher. I was joking with these guys before we got on when we did interview Tom Grossi a few weeks ago, and the three of them, Tom, Ziggy, and Jack, are talking all teacher stories, and I was like, oh, maybe. I'm gonna just back out of this conversation for a little bit here, but no, you said unfortunately, Paul's a Minnesota Viking fan. Unfortunately for Paul, might have been the right way to say that. He's a Minnesota Viking fan because as upset as you guys are with the tie, at least he didn't have that massacre that turned into a save face score at the end on Sunday morning.
No, definitely. It kept reminding me, Paul, of like the 49ers-Cowboys game where you're supposed to spike the ball at the end of that playoff game many years ago. And that was the same ref from last night, too. So, you never know with that Ron Tolbert ref what he's going to be able to do out there for annoying the game here.
And I will say, though, as a Packers fan my entire life, a lot of Packers fans say that the Chicago Bears are our biggest rival. I got to say, I was born in 1995, so I just turned 30. But I've never felt that way. I've always felt like the Vikings have been our biggest rival because you've had the most success other than the Packers the past few decades. The Lions are, coming up, but the Vikings have always been our Achilles heel. So, you say, unfortunately, you haven't got a Super Bowl yet. I'll give you that one. But other than that, you have had success in the past few years. So,
well, I appreciate that, Mike. That's very nice of you to say. And it actually bothers me when Packers fans show up or I'm talking to Bears fans. I have a lot of friends. I went to school in the Midwest, so I have a lot of friends who are Bears fans, and they're always talking about the Packer-Bear rivalry. And I guess, a la myself with Tom, Ziggy, and Jack, you're sitting there like the third wheel. I'm like, hey, aren't we we're the ones who actually have been making some noise lately? Shouldn't we be the rival? And there is a little bit of that little brother, big brother relationship, but yeah, the Vikings do have a way of reeling you in before breaking your heart. And that is a story that I guess yesterday's game was a perfect example of that.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so we kind of gave you a little bit of a background before coming on, but our show is mainly on we like to get guests on, so we don't get guests every week, but we really appreciate you coming on. Um, Not every guest has the opportunity or the platform like you do. So we like to give people a opportunity to speak about kind of their fandom, how they became a Vikings fan in your instance. But also in your instance, we're curious to hear more about kind of the Paul Farrington show, how it got started, its growth so far, and everything that's going on in your world. So, yeah, we'll give you the floor a little bit just to kind of speak about yourself for our viewers who aren't necessarily familiar, if they're mostly Packers fans. And yeah, just an opportunity to one, say how you became a Vikings fan, and two, how you got involved in podcasting.
So I guess, and thanks again for having me. I do really appreciate it. As far as the Viking fandom goes, that was from my father. My dad,
Okay.
we all grew up in, my whole family's from Jersey, but in the 70s when he was growing up, the Vikings were really good at the time with the Purple People Eaters going to Super Bowls. And he didn't want to root for the Giants or the Jets. So he enjoyed the Purple People Eater nickname. They were really good. Probably a little bit of front running actually in my father that I didn't realize until I got a little bit older. But he started rooting for the Vikings, and every year they'd lose the Super Bowl or they'd lose in some heartbreaking fashion. And he said his friends would make fun of him. It kind of light a fire for him to root for them even more the following year until it became, the mega fandom that it is today. And he bestowed that onto me and my siblings, where Vikings win, let's go out for ice cream. Vikings lose, and we were like, all right, disappointing Sunday. Probably still go out for ice cream, but maybe just sad ice cream. As far as the show goes now, that's I think there's like 3 phases of our show over the course of the past like 8 years now, which is kind of crazy to say. But it actually started when I was at school. I was a freshman at Notre Dame, and always kind of had an interest in doing some sort of radio and just doing some sports talk, right? Like any guy our age would at the time.
Yep.
And me and my buddy Will decided to, submit an application, and we got approved for WVFI radio. And the filler name was Paul Farrington Show. So it was always me and my buddy Will Coots, but we couldn't think of a name, and we were trying to find one that was good. And finally one day Will goes, you know what, let's just keep it the Paul Farrington Show. I was like, what? Like, why would we, I didn't like that at all because it was a 2-person thing, but
Right.
Will insisted, and we decided we're like, all right, let's just keep it. And we did that for 4 years with, and Ziggy joined. Ziggy joined on the 2nd episode ever of the Paul Farrington Show because Will would sleep through them. even though the show is at 11:30 in the morning, Will would sleep through them, and I would pull Ziggy out, who didn't know a thing about football at the time, literally nothing about football. But he's one of the best processors of information I've ever seen. Ziggy's a philosophy PhD candidate, and he did one show. I said, you have to come back. And we did it for 4 years. The second phase, I would say, is after graduating, we turned it into a podcast form where initially it was just me. And I had the brilliant idea of putting out 1 to 5 minute podcasts, thinking that people would like to have quick hitters, which is just about as bad of an idea as you could possibly have in hindsight. But we kept sticking with it, and would have no one listen to our show at all except us. And then the third phase was probably 2 years ago. It started when we started to break into the Packer Nation with our "Oh no, Jordan Love actually is pretty good" content, and we've sort of been riding that wave for the past 2 years. And I would say now is the beginning of phase 4, where we're starting to take it a little bit more seriously and having some job elements beyond just a hobby. So I know it's a little long-winded, but that's the history of the show right there.
Awesome.
No, I think that's great. And just some background on us. Jeremy's from Philadelphia, just outside of Philadelphia. I'm actually from just outside of New York City, live in New York now. But, it was actually I think probably similar growing up for both of us in terms of how we became Packers fans. Jeremy has some family from the Wisconsin area. I actually don't. My dad grew up in New York, and his older brother he actually has 2 older brothers. One was a Packers fan. One was a Cowboys fan, and he picked the Packers because he liked the colors better. So I, growing up, it's kind of similar to, sounds like what your dad's story was,
Yeah,
where,
it does, doesn't it?
yeah, where, I was kind of not made fun of, but, given a hard time by some of my friends who were Giants fans, but we kept losing to them in the NFC Championship game with Brett Favre. And then when we were #1 seed after the Super Bowl and then lost in the divisional round. So that was a tough thing. I was in middle school, high school about that time. So that really fueled my fandom quite a bit. And yeah, so similar stories, and that's very cool. And then the other thing I was going to mention was in terms of the show. I saw you had Andy Herman on the podcast one of the other days, and he was actually, I grew up, or not grew up, but when I first started my career, I would always listen to the Pack-A-Day podcast in the background, and they have so many people on, but they're people that have somewhat of a history in kind of social media or blogging or stuff like that, and they're on all the time. So I was like, it would be great to hear from kind of in a lot of different voices like that podcast has, but also hear from people that are looking for a platform, or maybe more the listener than they are the blogger or social media person. And that's kind of what we've tried to do here. So we try to get on regular fans and hear about their stories and everything. So that's been our kind of spiel and thing into the podcast world. But yeah, we're happy to have you on. So yeah.
No, that's really cool, and I think there is a space for everything, right? As we continue to get into this world of podcasts, which when my show really started in podcast form at probably the beginning of 2021 or mid 2021, we were still sort of in this, it was still kind of breaking out, I would say. And here we are 4 years later, where there's just this incredible oversaturation almost of podcasts. But the people who continue to do it, and the people who I've always said, if you can improve every 2 or 3 months, right? That's been at least our motto, because dude, we have some shows. If you go back and look at the 2021 Paul Farrington show, holy crap. Like we did one episode in my uncle's garage around March Madness, because we wanted to do one. And like we had, our webcam was just tilted up, like garage door closed behind us, looked like we were being held hostage. And so I've always just been like, you know what? Even though everyone's doing these shows right now, the good ones find a way to continue to go on, or at least the people who are passionate about it find a way to keep going with it. So you guys were telling me you've been in year 4 now, and it's like, all right, feels very similar to what I'm doing, right? Where so we just got to stick it out. You just got to keep going. As long as you're having fun. That's what we've always said.
Yeah, that's been our main thing. We have a few repeat guests on, friends that we have made through actually Tom Grossi's meetups, a few meetups, Cheesehead TV. So that's been great, because growing up in New York, I haven't personally had a lot of Packers fans, friends that live close by. Jeremy, you could speak. Did you grow up with a lot of Packers fans other than your immediate family?
No, I was surrounded by Eagle fans, and basically, if I just said "Go Pack Go," they wanted to kill me at that point from Eagle fans.
Dude,
Unfortunately,
I can't stand the Eagles. I don't like the Packers, but I maybe hate's too strong a word. I firmly dislike the Eagles. I hate the Saints, but the Eagles, they're right.
Now, Paul, question for that, because what me and Mike have said before, like when the Packers won the Eagles last year in the playoffs, I said to Mike, knowing because I've been to Philly sports games, I refuse to go out to a Packers-Eagles game because of how the Eagle fans treat the opposing fans. I refuse heavily. Mike, on the other hand, is fine of going out there. What is your take of Eagle fans, real quick, of like, do you think they are truly mean to opposing fans?
Well, I've actually been contemplating this recently, because I have a lot of friends who are Eagles fans. It's funny you mentioned this. I really have been thinking about this. And I've come out before and just said like some horrible things about Eagles fans. And then I reflect on it. I go like, I shouldn't have said that, because everyone I know, I shouldn't say most, everyone I know who's an Eagles fan is a very kind person. With that said, they absolutely treat people horribly in that stadium. Like they make fun of this, the common saying that they throw snowballs at Santa Claus, which they did. I remember we were talking with I think Baserski, with Alex Baserski, and he or Becerra, sorry, and right before he went to the game, we were like, dude, you gotta be careful out there, man. You never know like what's gonna happen. And I think he had a viral moment or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he did.
For sure.
The week before he went out there, we said to him, we did a collab together, and we were like, just be careful, man. Like you're wearing a jersey. He goes like, oh yeah, hell yeah. And he's from that area, so he's comfortable. But still, next thing you know, I'm seeing like USA Today with his face on it, and I'm like, that's what you got to be careful of when you go into Philly. But I don't know, guys. Do you think is it just a great home field advantage if you're so mean that away fans are scared to go to your stadium?
Honestly, it works, right?
I
I
think
think
Completely
it's not a bad
immoral,
idea.
but
Yeah.
but a complete advantage as well.
yeah.
Right. Which is why I tell Jeremy, like, you still got to do it, right? Otherwise, it's like terrorism, right? You can't let them win by being scared of them. So that's what they're trying to do. It's trying to terrorize fans. So you got to go anyway.
Dude,
But
it
you always
works.
keep your head down. You can't get involved with the heckling. That's the problem.
I have zero desire to go to a Viking Philly game. Like I have legitimately this summer I went skydiving for the first time ever.
Oh,
My
nice.
brother
Nice.
my brother wanted to do it his whole life, and if he was like, you know what, we're doing it on this vacation, and he convinced our friend. Funny enough, our really good family friends are huge Packer fans, and this is what drives me crazy. Every Packer fan I know, just like salt of the earth, greatest person ever, and it almost makes it more infuriating when I see like growing up Rogers doing like the discount double check and John freaking Coons jumping into the crowd. I'm like, these guys, and then you get a text, it's like, oh, great game, by the way. Like, all right, you're a great dude. So we decided to go skydiving, and that entire time leading up to it, I was like, I really don't want to do this, but I have to. Like, I feel like I have to. Great time, happy to hit the ground in one piece. It was awesome. I'd rather go skydiving, I think, than go to a Philly game just as a Viking fan. Like, I have just zero desire, and I don't feel like getting beat up. I don't feel like getting heckled. I've been there, done that. I'm all about going to home games. I'll go to Lambeau. They're really nice. No, I don't. I just have no desire to hang out with a bunch of drunk Philadelphians.
Well, there you go, folks. There's your answer. Paul's perspective on the Eagle fans, which I am with Paul, as knowing my friends. I will say, though, the Eagle fans, they are the nice ones. But in general, when you go to it, you see how they act towards.
You always get anywhere you go, you get drunk, obnoxious fans. At Philly, there might be some more. They almost feed into that reputation that they have. But generally speaking, I mean, I think I'd be fine if I went. I just don't really feel like driving down there.
Yeah, no. So to kind of go off of that real quick, you and Ziggy and I forget if Jack was there. You guys went down to Radio Row. What was that experience like? Because I actually got to go down there to go work the Super Bowl game day. So I wanted to hear what was your perspective on that, especially the Eagle fans too, because the Eagle fans were out on Bourbon Street. They were everywhere. Like no Chiefs fans until like the last day before the Super Bowl game. I swear.
We were at the draft for Radio Row, not the Super Bowl one. I mean, the Super Bowl would have been really cool. We actually didn't. We probably should have sent in some sort of an application for that, but I have to imagine that the Eagles fans were quite intense before and perhaps more intense after the game.
Yeah, it was.
You said you were down there though?
I was down there. Yeah, it was like insane to see because I was inside and outside the stadium when working, and I saw a couple of like celebrities like Dan Orlovsky, Elliot Shore-Parks from 94.1, Mike Florio from NBC Sports. I saw a sketch at a bar at 12 a.m. when I was just randomly at a bar. But no, it was insane because as soon as because I got to go see where the Eagles interviews were, I knew where their hotel was day one. So when the Eagles players were coming out, you could see the Eagle fans ready to like swarm in. And when you go out of the hotel, there were Eagle fans driving around Jeeps, like drove all the way from Philadelphia to bring in like a mini parade fashion out there.
It's look, I know you said you saw a sketch at the bar at 12:30 a.m. as you do in New Orleans, right? I mean, that's the fun city to go out and when you're on Bourbon Street at 12:30 in the morning. That's like 7 p.m. for that street. Yeah, no, I would love to go to a Super Bowl. I don't think so. The company I work for, we have a Super Bowl party every year, and the first and it's like the Super Bowl party. It's not the day. It's really more of like a networking kind of a thing. But we've been invited. I've been invited to go to it every single year. I haven't gone since the LA Super Bowl, which I guess was 2022 at this point. But yeah, I'd love to go. But I think I'm going to hold out until the Vikings make it. And that could be forever. Like, I'm totally comfortable knowing that could be forever. But my goal is the next time I'm at some Super Bowl thing, it's either for my podcast specifically, or I mean, I guess if I'm forced to for work, I'm going to be there. But or the Vikings are in the Super Bowl, and I'm going as a fan.
Okay. Awesome.
So I got 2 questions. One, so you said you were Radio Row at the draft. Was it this year in Wisconsin?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was
Oh,
really
that's awesome. So I was actually there. I was there with our friend John, who joins the show quite a bit. He was there as well, and we saw Matthew Golden get picked that night. That was a crazy night. And then I go to walk up, and Matthew Golden runs all the way out into the kind of platform they had out in the crowd area, and I was like right next to it for that. So I got like super lucky where I was like pretty close to him when he did that. Because a lot of people, once the pick was made left, so I was able to move up and just got super lucky. But no, I'm just curious to hear about how Radio Row was at the draft and how you kind of got that opportunity, if you don't mind.
Well, that's really cool with Golden. He seems like a nice guy. We got to we actually interviewed him very briefly when they had the day before the draft. So I guess I'll give you the process. Through NFL media, you get like approved as an organization. So we were fortunate enough that we got approved and applied for credentials, and we're kind of shocked when we actually got credentialed for the draft. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go all out for this. Fly out probably on Tuesday evening, and on Wednesday they had this. Basically the prospect event where they were hanging out with kids and stuff, and they were on a little football field outside by Titletown. Yeah. And after the event, it was like 30 to 40 minutes basically of open to the media. So it was pretty wild, guys, because, Genty's there, Golden's there, Jalen Milroe was there. Most people were there. Shedeur was not, but like most of the people, and I don't think Cam Ward there? I think he was.
So was Shedeur, because he was from home for the draft, right? But did he come for that day? Or Cam Ward was at the draft?
No, it was only people who were at the draft. I can't remember.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think Cam Ward was there. I think so.
But it's kind of wild because in your mind, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. You're thinking about the guys you want to talk to. Like everyone wants to talk to Genty, right? Like he's someone on everyone's list. So they opened the gates, and we've never done this before. We actually vlogged it, and if you could go on our channel and you could see the actual video of all this. But people just run through these gates like madness. And we're just not we just don't want to be like throwing bows with actual like ESPN camera equipment people. We're like, all right, let's just kind of like, we sulk in at the end and we go up and start doing interviews. We did Tyler Booker, the Alabama guard who, you guys saw last night again for the Cowboys. Although I think he was actually out for that game.
He was out.
Great dude. I mean, super funny. We had a really fun interview with him. Go over to Golden, who had a smaller crowd, and Jack got to interview Matthew Golden. That was really fun. And then you realize, like, after 10 minutes, everyone gets their 1 or 2 questions in, and then everyone just leaves. And the guys are just like Ashton Genty's just standing there by himself for like 15 minutes. Like we go up and Ziggy talked to Ashton Genty a little bit. So I was like, why are we doing this mad rush? Like everyone could speak to these dudes if you just wait 2 seconds. But that was really cool. And then we got to talk to like Joel Klatt was there. Daniel Jeremiah was there, and it started thunderstorming. So they actually moved it into the concourses of Lambeau. And it was really fun again, because we're like, all right, we're going into Lambeau Field here. It got to meet those dudes, which was really great. But then the draft itself was awesome, because we got to do this whole like go into the green room beforehand. We walked on to Lambeau Field, and Ziggy had this whole like, I don't know if you guys are too familiar with our show, but there's always this debate if Ziggy's a closeted Packer fan or not.
Yes.
And Ziggy's like on the field, like, God, it smells like championships. And I was like, shut up. So that was fun. And then during the draft, we're kind of just like ushered into this gigantic room where they have all the equipment ready and you can broadcast. And we went live for the entire draft. Oh, wow. And we're happy for you guys to finally get a receiver after 100 years of waiting for a first round receiver. But it was great. It was just a great experience. And the Lambeau Field people, staff, the Packers fans, they were just awesome. Like they were so nice to us the entire time. We were actually recognized quite a bit, which was kind of shell shocking. But also just everybody came. I was like, love the show. Can I buy you a beer? Nothing like you'd get in Philadelphia, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But it was great, and I had a ton of respect for the Packers fans organization. It reminded me a lot of like Notre Dame. Just you plop this intense and awesome football community in the middle of a random Midwestern town.
Yep.
Right. And that was your first time in Green Bay, I'm assuming?
Yeah, first time in Green Bay.
Wow,
It was
great.
awesome. We're gonna try and go back for Vikings Packers this year.
Yeah,
There we go.
that'd be awesome. That'd be very cool. Awesome. And then what was my other question? I had another question. Jeremy, you go. I'll have to think about it. I had one.
So, what is like, because you're mentioning the process and like obviously with the company and everything, what's the process for like to get on Radio Row? Like, because I was trying to figure out like when I was at the Super Bowl, because I've seen it before, like Rossi's done it, Cheesehead T, Herman and Nagler done it. What's the process to like get the credentials or kind of like even just to visit, like not even be like have your own like table, but just to watch as a kind of a fan, or do you have to like apply just to be a media person for that?
To be credentialed.
Yeah.
That's for me. Yeah, that was through our show, through the Paul Farrington Show.
Okay.
We're an LLC, so we actually I don't know if that actually matters or not, but yeah, it's like you apply and you first apply to NFL media to be on like this list of people who get sent, and it's probably a huge list. I mean, I'm sure anyone could do it, but
Yeah.
you just get sent different events that the NFL is doing, and they're like, oh, come apply for the combine or make sure you tune into the Brazil game. It basically updates on what the NFL is doing. And for us, as far as I remember, it was just put in the organization name and what like where your channel platforms and things like that. And
Mhm.
after we got approved, then you can apply individually for whatever event you want. And to my understanding, it kind of works like if you get approved for the draft, then if you apply for the combine and you apply for all the other events that they do, it's Super Bowl, it sort of becomes this like rolling admission. And it's like, okay, as long as you're continuing to do it, you should probably be approved. But we'll
Mhm.
see. I mean, we'll see when the combine rolls around if we're there or not. But it was I'm pretty sure just send in an application. See what happens.
Okay.
Very cool. That's it. I remember my question. Okay, so we were talking about the Super Bowl before, and you said you were going to go if the Vikings made the Super Bowl. So I'm curious. So we have a running debate on this show. Is it better to go to the Super Bowl for your team, or is it better to go to the NFC or AFC Championship game when it's at home?
Oh
Just
yeah, great
curious.
question. Are we assuming a victory or no? We're just saying. I think no.
I think that's part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of the conversation. Yeah.
I guess if you told me, I'm gonna imagine that the game is not decided. It's like, would you rather go? I'd probably rather go to the championship game, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the championship game is like being with your home. It goes back to our whole conversation before about like the Eagles games. It's so fun. If you're an Eagle fan, an Eagle game, unreal, right? Like you're having the best time of your life with a bunch of people who are also having the best time of their life. The Super Bowl. Now, I will say this though, because I've gone to way more Notre Dame games than Viking games in my life. When I've been to these big ND games, so like I was at Penn State semifinal, I was at the national championship.
Mhm.
I love a split crowd game is really cool. Like when you have it divided halfway down, I don't think it would be like that for the Super Bowl. I think the Super Bowl is probably more, you get like big wigs and just random NFL fans who have it as a bucket list item. So I don't know how the fandom would really work. I'm inclined to say NFC Championship game. But dude, if you see your team win the Super Bowl, I'm gonna go NFC Championship game for now.
Okay.
Because I'd want to watch the Super Bowl. I'd want to watch I'd really want to be locked in with my family. Like I'd want to be with everyone watching that person.
Yeah. I think we're on the exact same page. That's usually our argument here, or at least my argument. I feel like at home on a championship game, right? You get to celebrate with all your the fans in the stadium, right? You go out afterwards to like a bar or something. Everyone's excited. But you also have something to look forward to that you're going to the Super Bowl. The one, obviously, it's exciting to win the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, but then you're like have to travel home and everything if you go to the Super Bowl. I'd rather be in a situation where you're at like a party with your friends and family who also are the same fans of your team, right? Because it's probably unlikely that all those people could go to the Super Bowl with you. So it'd probably be better to experience that with a group of people that versus going like 1 or 2 people to the Super Bowl, spending $5 grand, and being with a bunch of what do you call it? You know, people that
Randos.
got the brand what do you call it, or corporate people. You know, because I
Yeah.
feel like that's a lot of the Super Bowl. So that's been our argument. So it sounds like we're kind of on the same page there. So that's
Yeah,
pretty, that's pretty cool.
I'm with you. I'm with you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like when I was inside for the Super Bowl, like the third quarter was, I saw like from my section there wasn't that many like one side. It was like I saw a random Patriots fan there just watching the game.
Yeah, right.
But when it was like the time when you knew it was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and like we obviously knew the Eagles were winning, like blowout, everybody knew it. You could hear the chants and everybody screaming inside, like it was like the NFC Championship a little bit.
Really?
But during the game, there wasn't much of like huge crowd. Like you could hear the Eagle fans, Chief fans you could barely hear them, but like there was a lot of third party teams of fans every single where. I think the one bright spot, like if you go down to the Super Bowl, I know this was at the draft, which I wasn't at. I know Mike was, and you were, of course, Paul. The one thing before like the Super Bowl, like the other events that go on, is the Super Bowl experience. I would definitely recommend, even the draft experience it was, where you can meet NFL players at, like you could meet Eli Manning, for example, at the Super Bowl experience. You could get like their autographs or like take a quick photo, ask them one question, or play, I think it was Chris Olave and Jamal Williams in pickleball, for example, or Flavor Flav. Yeah. Yeah. So like that's the one caveat I will say, even though I'm with you guys on the side, I'm just saying like besides the game, like the experience like itself is pretty fun to go to. Now you don't have to have like a Super Bowl ticket to be part of that. You could just purchase your ticket yourself to go to it, and then you could just leave and not go to the game.
Right. Or you could go to some Super Bowl parties. Like it sounds like
that's true.
if you have connections and stuff. So yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I would not be at any. I mean, my company party is not one of those.
No, I wasn't sure if that's what it was.
I mean, like, I guess sort of it, like, but it's not after the Super Bowl. It's like the week before. It's pretty tame for the most part.
It's around here. The way you said it, I wasn't sure if it was in the Super Bowl area.
Like it is. Yes, so it's wherever the Super Bowl is located. That's where the party is.
Oh,
but
okay.
it's not like a post game party. It's like, you know, if the Super Bowl's on Sunday, obviously the party's probably like Wednesday or Thursday.
Got it. Okay.
Most people are pretty tame. I guess I was not when I was an intern at the time, but usually everyone's pretty tame and under control.
That's pretty cool. You guys get to go on a trip a little bit to go to the party, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is one positive of that party. Is that you could just like, yeah, but you're still sort of working, you know, like in that time I was an intern, and they're like, oh, can you like say hello to people? So I was literally at the door, and I was like, Coach O came up, which was kind of cool. And he's like, how's it going, boys? I'm like, it's going well, Coach. He's like, all right, make sure you stay out of trouble. I'm like, all right, no, trust me, I'm just standing right here.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, the Super Bowl would be cool to go to, though. I mean, that the NFL does a really good job with those events of making it just awesome for fans.
Yeah. Do we want to go into like the NFL, the past 3 weeks in the NFL, kind of how the Vikings and Packers are doing? Do you have one more question, Jeremy? Seems like you have another question.
Yeah, I have one last question for Paul. So I mentioned, we were also mentioning before, the Colin Cowherd bit. What was like it working with him? What was that experience like for you?
So I don't really know Colin that well, honestly, like not well at all, really. I'm actually working on his show tonight. After the Monday Night Football games. So I came out, I don't know if you've heard of the volume before, but that's the company. And I came out of school in 2021, and the volume had just started. And there were like 12 of us or 13 of us. And I was, along with my friend Sean, we were the first interns. And then Carson, our friend Carson, became the third intern quite shortly after. And it was really cool because I immediately moved out back to Notre Dame after graduating, because we had Inside the Garage was a show that we had launched with Kyle Hamilton's podcast. So we were looking for a guy on the ground, and I was like, I could go back. Like, yeah, I mean, I loved it. Like, I'll go back and have my quote unquote fifth year. So got to go out there, got to meet Colin a couple of times through Inside the Garage. wound up working on Colin's show for like 2 years. Just, doing like the YouTube backend stuff and thumbnails and titles. And it helped with my show because I was getting better at creating everything that I do for our podcast. But it's been great. I mean, it's a fun company with a lot of like-minded people to myself. And I always joked around that I got super fortunate because I sort of joined this group of people who were like superstars at what they do, like a super team almost for like a podcast network of just, we had an Emmy award winning graphic designer, and you have like, and they always downplay it, but still you're an Emmy award winner, like pretty cool. People who produced on Fox for a long time with Colin, and it was really fun for me to be able to grow with and learn how to do this job with people who were just really talented and willing to teach. But Colin was always great. Colin is very nice to me. I've met him a couple times in person, and there's been some fun experiences. Yeah, it's been a cool job so far.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, should we jump into the season?
Let's jump into the season here.
So Paul being a Vikings fan, obviously we're rivals. But right now the Packers and Vikings are both looking, like we're in the middle of the pack in terms of the NFC playoff race or performance so far. So the Packers are 2-1-1. We had a tough game last night, 40-40, scoregami actually.
Yeah.
Tie. I was actually doing some research before this. The last time the Packers got a scoregami tie was against a certain team that Paul might be a fan of.
I remember that game.
Yeah, in
Well.
28. In
I was at that
2018,
game.
29-29. Oh, Jeremy, you were there, huh?
I was at that game. I'll never forget it because I still ticked off the ref because of the call that they gave on Clay Matthews for hitting the quarterback. That was a clean hit, I will say. Because of that, that was the play where Jair intercepted the ball, and then it got called back for that. So that's the one thing I'll never forget about ref. Thank you for making a tie.
Well, that is one way of remembering that game. I just remember Daniel Carlson missing 3 field goals and
Right.
completely butchering the game. We cut him, and now he's one of the best kickers in the league for 6 years going on now. That's my memory of it.
It was also the last time I remember special teams made a play by getting a blocked the punt and scored a touchdown in the play, which honestly happened against us, the Packers, last night in the extra point, but still.
An extra point, yeah. But yeah, so the Packers got 40-40 with the tie. The Vikings, unfortunately, got the loss against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in Ireland, the first game. Now, the one consolation prize for the Vikings is they all had first-class seats on the flight over.
Yeah.
Or probably not all of them, but more first-class seats than the Steelers had. I don't know if you saw that story. They were
at least we have a little class,
So, just curious what you think about the Vikings so far. What do you think about J.J. McCarthy so far? He had a little bit of a good start, and then I think went down with an ankle injury, right? If that's what he's down for at the moment. Curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the NFC North so far?
I'm really, really trying, guys, to stay optimistic about the Vikings right now. And the level-headed side of me is thinking about these first 2 weeks going, it is just 2 weeks, right? Of JJ McCarthy. He played 7 really horrendous quarters of football, like about as bad as you can get. The worst case scenario. That one quarter, I mean, it was pretty damn good in Chicago.
Right. I was going to say, he had one good, really quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. One unbelievable quarter.
Right.
If we're scoring 21 points in the fourth quarter, I'm going to feel good most weeks.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm trying to hold on to is it has been 2 weeks. You got to give this kid a little bit of time. Everybody who's a Vikings fan, and this is where, the emotional reactionary side of me kind of kicks in. I'm looking at our team right now going, this is a team that's really built to win right now. I know we didn't look great defensively yesterday against Pittsburgh, but, everything's there for this team to be successful. You see what Sam Darnold's doing in Seattle. You see what Aaron's doing in Pittsburgh right now. He could still throw the hell out of the football. And you see what Daniel Jones is doing in Indianapolis. They easily could be 4-0 after yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, A.D. Mitchell runs into the end zone. I don't know I don't know. Maybe the Colts are 4-0. All 3 of those guys off to fantastic starts. I mean, they're 9-3 combined this year. And then you look at our situation where Carson Wentz at this point in his career, he's just a backup, right? We don't need to get on Carson Wentz. He's an older backup, and we know how he plays. He holds onto the ball too long. He'll turn the ball over.
Yep.
But I can't help but thinking, man, if we had one of those dudes right now, it would be like game on, seriously, in the NFC, kind of like it was last season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm choosing to be reasonable and hoping and kind of readjusting the expectations, I think, is the right way to approach this and say, all right, it's very unlikely JJ's going to catch fire and this team's going to go on a NFC championship game type of run.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just have him come back and by November have him playing his best football, or by December he's playing his best football. That's a huge win for the Vikings if he looks like he can be the starting quarterback for next season by the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think he's definitely a talented player, and I think it's hard in your first rookie season to kind of hit the ground running, and I don't see we see a ton of that. So if you could just get him experience and as much value as I don't know if I see the Vikings being a Super Bowl contender this year. I thought maybe the Packers could be a Super Bowl contender after the first 2 weeks, but these past 2 weeks have really kind of tainted that view a little bit. But it's tough as a quarterback in this league to have a lot of success year one. I mean, obviously Jaden Daniels last year on the Commanders made it to the NFC Championship game, really had a lot of success year one. But it just really doesn't happen that way. So, I still think there's a lot of optimism if I was a Vikings fan, what could be in JJ McCarthy. And I still think it's probably better than going the Aaron Rodgers route. Just because at this point, even if Aaron Rodgers has something left in the tank, it's a win this year or basically back to square one next year.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, there could be an argument to be made there. But JJ McCarthy definitely has the best upside long term. So I can see the Vikings' decision and why they did that. I think it makes sense.
Oh, me too. You have to know what you have in JJ McCarthy.
Right.
Where, maybe if we had Aaron or Sam right now, in hindsight, I probably would have tried to get one of those two guys. But you need to know what you have in JJ. And if JJ can get going, that's the whole goal of this, is to be playing good football. November, December rolls around. And I think we've been a little desensitized to, like you said, how hard it is for rookies to come in and play well because of Jaden Daniels, because of CJ Stroud the year before.
Right.
We're coming off arguably the two best rookie quarterback seasons of all time. And JJ's expectations were to come and take a 14-3 team and to just hit the ground running, like you said. And if not hit the ground running, maybe even improve on what Sam Darnold. Sam threw for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns last year. Like, that is that's the best season in Bears history. We know that. All three of us know that.
Right.
Like, it's going to take some time. And, you alluded to the Packers, where they stand right now as far as being Super Bowl contenders. This is kind of how the NFL is, right? There are ups and downs. You guys think back to the Jordan Love debut season. That early portion of the year was ugly. That Raider game was ugly. But if you're on at the end of the year when it matters, you can win. Anyone can win. You just got to get in. I was saying last night on our reaction show, if I were a Packer fan, you're really frustrated, but it is not time to hit the panic button at all.
No, I totally agree. And another big thing in NFL is getting healthy at the right time. Packers do have a lot of offensive line injury at the moment. Plus, they're going to get a few guys off of IR. Vikings too, with Aaron Jones right now. On IR, they're going to get him back, right?
We had 3 backup offense, and you guys had 2 in yesterday. We had 3 backup offensive linemen playing yesterday. We're missing Blake Cashman, our best linebacker. We're missing Jones, like you said. It's injuries suck. And part of going on these runs is being healthy at the right time and being able to stay healthy throughout it.
Right. No, totally agree. So, it's a long season. There's a lot to be played. But I think the Packers and Vikings are right in the midst of it. I'm not 100% sold on the Lions. They had back-to-back really good weeks. Considering they lost to the Packers week 1, I still think they're beatable. So, yeah, I think this is going to come down to the end. I think it's really probably going to be between the Vikings, Packers, and the Lions for the division. I don't have any faith in the Bears, although they have won a few games. They got lucky yesterday, last minute
Yeah.
against the Raiders, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah, like, when do you ever see a blocked field goal to win a football game?
I know,
Last
like
2
2
weeks, I
weeks ago.
swear.
There's been
I'm
a
just
lot of
joking.
those recently. It's crazy. But I'll say this, just going back to JJ McCarthy again. If there's one guy you want him to learn from, I think Kevin O'Connell is a pretty good guy to learn from. So,
Mhm.
I think the more snaps and the more opportunities he has to learn, he's just going to get better. I don't think anyone thought he was
I
a
hope
finished
so.
project coming out of Michigan. So he's going to need some development, and I think he's got the talent. So, I can't wish you the best of luck, but I don't think it was a bad decision personally.
I appreciate you guys saying this. Yeah, maybe, I mean, I'm gonna have to come back on more often for some therapy. Right now, that is not how I feel about this team. But yeah, like I think it's the Lions and the Packers, honestly, are gonna battle out for this. And we're a competitive team, and we're a really good roster. But
Yeah.
until I see more from the quarterback position, we might have those games like we had against the Bengals where Brian Flores just goes crazy, and we have enough talent and Van Ginkel was out too yesterday. But if you have, Van Ginkel and Grenard and hopefully Dallas Turner gets going, that defense can win some games with just acceptable average QB play. But to be a true contender, you need to have a quarterback who can turn it on. And right now, I don't really think that Wentz or JJ is capable of doing that for 3-4 games in a row. Like, that's the big takeaway I had for the Packers last night was you could be pissed off about the defense, who had been the best defense in football, arguably through 3 weeks. The great takeaway was that Jordan Love looked awesome. He looked like a Super Bowl winning quarterback last night. And if you get that Jordan, now granted it was against arguably the worst defense in the league, but if you get anything close to that level, Jordan Love, Reed comes back, Watson comes back, Tom comes back, Banks comes back. Now you're looking at a Packer team that, as long as they have all the gears turning, you can go into Philly, or in your case, you're hoping you host Philly or Detroit. You can play with those guys. I mean, you just beat the crap out of the Lions. So, how would you guys rank the NFC? 1 to 5 right now. What would you power rank it?
I would say the Eagles are number 1 just because even though it's looked ugly, like the wins, I think you can't, until the champion changes, you have to keep it number 1 for the Eagles.
Thank you. Yes.
That's I don't do much power rankings, Paul, but that's been my philosophy of like, until you beat the champs are still the number 1 seed no matter what. Like the Chiefs, for example. Obviously, they're not like the number 1 team in like the AFC, but they are still the team to beat in the AFC because that's the standard, despite them being 0-3 or whatever.
You are preaching to the choir right now, Jeremy. That's what I say every time we do our joint power rankings. Okay, so Eagles 1.
I agree.
Number 2, Packers, Rams, Bucks. Who am I else forgetting? Packers, Rams, Bucks. I wouldn't give the Niners. I think the Niners are overrated.
Detroit.
Oh yeah, Detroit. I would say for right now, Detroit, just based off of how we played the past 2 weeks, because like obviously like there's been the tough moments you mentioned before, but like those are teams you should take care of. It's like the thing, like obviously we can be annoyed about the game last night as Packer fans, but the thing that also annoys me, Paul, from last night is the Bears destroyed the Cowboys by like 40 to something to 10. The Packers defense, like that wasn't great. And now Jordan Love, fantastic and everything, but like you should be outperforming. If the Bears can do that, how come the Packers can't do that? That's why I would put the Lions probably in number 2 for right now is my case.
Okay, so you got Eagles, then and sorry, you said Lions too?
Yeah, Lions. Mike, I don't know about you.
Probably put the Rams.
They are, if you go into the playoffs, I think the Rams are like, you do not want them, even coming into your building. I think they might be the most well-prepared team to beat someone on the road in an NFC playoff game, just because, to me, Stafford is the best in the NFC. Like, if you have one game and you say who you want at quarterback from the NFC, I'm taking Stafford I'm trying to think, is there anyone? No, like I'm taking Stafford every single time.
I agree. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that Devontae Adams has been playing pretty well.
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
So then
Yeah.
you close it, Jeremy. You close it with Packers, Rams, and Bucks.
I think I would switch the Bucks and the Rams just because of how the Rams are playing. Like I get with the Bucks, but right now, based off what happened yesterday, like they got hurt pretty bad. With Bucky got hurt. Mike Evans is gonna be out for a couple games. Chris Godwin just got back, but like it's gonna take him a couple games. Abuka is the face of that offense, and this is what Mike has said for Matthew Golden is he needs to be the X factor really for the Packers to be Super Bowl champions or Super Bowl contenders, whatever they may be. Ibuka has been carrying that offense. Now Baker's done a great job, but that was a terrible at the end. Like I get it was tipped or anything, but like you roll out the pocket at the very end, throws the interception, like you make the one mistake. Because I feel like if Philly, for example, Paul, despite like the ugly wins, like they should not have the record they have now. They should be like theoretically they should be like they could have lost the Cowboys, had CeeDee Lamb caught the ball, lost to the Rams, had they kicked the field goal, and the Bucks. They could have won that. Like they could theoretically have no wins right now, and the Packers could theoretically be undefeated right now. But that's not the case. It's football.
Oh, that's how it goes in the NFL. Yeah, you gotta close out these games, and you gotta give credit to Tampa because I've thought the same thing. They could easily have lost all three of their opening games, but Baker's resilient, man, and at those final drives, each week you can point to some huge scramble where he's throwing a defensive lineman off him and picking up 6 yards, reaching the ball out, and he gets it by an inch. Like that's just how they've been. Usually it catches up to you in the playoffs, but if you find your way in, you find your way in. And yeah, Buka's been great. I think you made a good point about Golden. I'm kind of tired of watching him get jet sweeps or either go routes. And that's why last night when he had the 4th and 6 catch to keep the game going, it's like, okay, all right. Like we see him do something other than one of those two plays where, yeah, Mecca, they're throwing him all over the field. He's making ridiculous one-handed catches, sideline catches. I think that the next iteration of Matthew Golden is something you want to see coming out of the bye week. Can we get this guy a little more involved? Can we utilize that speed in other ways other than what we've been doing so far? And if you can get him to producing anything like Emeka's doing right now, the Packer offense to me is one of the best in football. I do think there's another level up to this thing. And that's the scary thing for other NFC teams if they're able to unlock it. Because I'm not confident not positive they will, but there's another gear.
No, I absolutely agree. I think like right now though, Paul, like I think it's the O line. Like despite the O line like injuries, like if they are able to get that run game going, which they kind of did like later on with Josh Jacobs,
so good last night.
Yeah,
He was really good.
I think if you get the O line like what it was like last year, then I think that's where the tool opens up because Love didn't get pressured so much. I mean, he had that fumble, but like I don't think that was entirely his fault. Like in that towards the end of the first half, because Walker got like destroyed on the left side, come off like just randomly. Like that could happen to any quarterback. That happened to Jalen Hurts against the Chiefs the first Super Bowl when that occurred. So like that could happen to anybody. So I don't totally fault Jordan Love on that part. I think with Matthew Golden, we saw that big play, like the first drive where he catches it, where two Packers basically collide with each other, and one of them caught the ball, which I don't think would have been a touchdown. People kept saying, I was like, I don't think it would because the guy was right there to make a tackle.
I don't think so either.
But no, I think with Golden, like this could be like the Devontae Adams when the Packer fans were not happy about him after like the first 2 years. They wanted him cut. They didn't want him anymore. With that being said, I think that could be the Matthew Golden because you've seen like when the Jordy Nelson, like you saw the decline start like the 2016-2017 season. That's when Devontae just came out of nowhere. And like that's what I'd like to see out of Matthew Golden. Now, Romeo Doubs had a fantastic game. He's definitely the number one trusted receiver for Love. But I think if you're able to open up the game with Matthew Golden, that just instantly makes this, like as you mentioned before, a different tier level because you don't know who the ball is going to go to, which is what I love about this Packers offense. But like the weapons, if you get Matthew Golden going, I think
it's just another case of not everyone is going to come in and light the league on fire immediately. Sometimes you're figuring out the best ways to use this guy. And right now, LaFleur is attempting to do it on the go balls and the sweeps. And I mean, Golden's not playing bad, but it's just you're watching these games going because they're starting to hit on him, right? In the first 2 weeks, we saw Jordan overthrowing Golden, I believe, in both games to open the year. Last 2 weeks, you had the deep ball when you were backed up on your goal line against Cleveland. You had the deep ball last night. So it's just an evolution of, getting this guy accustomed, figuring out how you want to use him. And I'm sure it'll help getting Watson and Reed are awesome. I think they're actually probably your 2 best receivers. So again, if any team loses, the Packers are so fortunate to have this litany of weapons. You're going to go 5 deep, like at receiver when everyone's back. And, part of why you're able to survive this stretch, if you think Watson and Reed are the 2 best, like I do, how many teams in the league can afford to lose? Now, the gap between Watson and Reed's closer on Green Bay to everyone else than most other 1-2s. But the Vikings lose. Can you imagine watching the Viking offense without Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison playing? Like that would, oh my God, that would be ugly. And then you look at Kansas City and everyone's harping on the Chiefs and that offense looks horrible. Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are both out. And when Worthy came back, you saw that boost it gave him against Baltimore. Let's see what happens when Rashee's playing.
So to bring up that, because I wanted to discuss just real quick before we head out, folks, the wide receiver 1, because you just mentioned Justin Jefferson. He's the number 1 wide receiver. Is it better to have the multiple spread guys, or is it better just to have that number 1 guy? Because the Packers have experienced that with Devontae Adams, and now we're experiencing it now. That's my issue of do you really want to heavily rely on number 1 guy? If he gets hurt like Justin Jefferson, your season's done. But if you open with multiple guys, and they're second tier guys, I would say for Packers, not number 1 guys, still opens up. But the problem with the number 2 guys is who's going to be the guy who trusts the most to make that 4th down play? Like we saw last night, that happened. That's the question I have for you is what would you go with more of because you experienced the wide receiver 1 with Justin Jefferson, and then you do have Jordan Addison too, another good wide receiver 2 if he does not go over the speed limits.
Yeah, yes, that's true. I'll take the wide receiver 1 any day of the week. If you're handing me a top 5 receiver in football, number 2 receivers. Now I think Jordan Addison is as good a number 2 receiver as you see in the league right now. So maybe that's an unfair comparison to make here. But if you have most number 2s, they are replaceable in many situations, or at least they're replicable in many situations. Justin Jefferson is not replicable. Jamar Chase is not replicable. And when you have that dude who can just take over a game, I've seen a handful of Viking games where there's just nothing you can do. There are teams, you see Justin, the Buffalo game, right? The one-handed catch. Yes. At the end of that game, I sometimes I can't help but just go back and watch those highlights. Kirk was just throwing the ball. He legitimately wasn't even looking a couple times. He had one throw where I'm pretty sure he ducked his head because he was getting crushed. That's the only thing that happened to Kirk. He was getting crushed, ducked his head, threw it blindly to Jefferson, who's double teamed, I think.
Yeah, he was.
And he's just on fire, and he's the best in the world to do it. So I'll take that special talent any day of the week and build around him. Yeah, if he gets hurt, that sucks. What are you going to do? That's football. In that case, it really comes down to your quarterback too. You have a good quarterback, they can make any number 2 receiver. They can make do with any of them. You just can't. You have to game plan for those special number 1 guys, and they change games.
Oh, definitely. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I'll say this: if there's one player I'd love to have on the Packers, it's Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, everyone. I don't blame you.
He was one of my favorite players coming out of LSU in that draft, and he almost fell. But the Vikings got him a few picks before. So, congratulations on that one. That's a player from day one. You knew he was special.
Luckily, the Eagles did not get him. Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson is the talk of the century, even though they have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith.
Imagine if they had Justin Jefferson too.
Imagine that. That's the crazy part. You were lucky, Paul, for that happening of that crucial mistake by Howie Roseman, which is rare now, but before he was very bad at GM.
It's also hard. It's so hard to because Jalen Reagor was supposed to be really good too, and it's so hard looking back for Philly. Now look, I have no sympathy for the Eagles whatsoever. They're the defending Super Bowl champions.
I agree.
What I would do for a Super Bowl, but at the time, Justin was probably the better receiver prospect. But it wasn't like it was a clear cut. Oh, CD Lamb was in that draft class, like the guy, and I think Ruggs went first, right, in that class. The Raiders, obviously, the Raiders took the fastest guy.
It was Ruggs and then Judy, I believe.
Yeah, Ruggs, Judy. Then Lamb went in what, like the
teens, I believe.
Yeah,
I think.
But like you see, like CD Lamb, you knew was going to be a stud. You watched him play in Oklahoma, you're like, all right, that dude's freaking unbelievable at football. The Rager Jefferson one is like, you kind of got it. It's like, okay, they're going Rager, and it just so happened that Jefferson turned into the best start in the history of football for a receiver. But it would have been so much funnier if Philly hadn't been going to Super Bowls this whole time.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, look, you're a losing franchise, you're a losing organization until you're not. And that's kind of like, the Lions win the Super Bowl this year. They win the Super Bowl, right? You can't say they're losers anymore.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot about that. Henry Ruggs went first that year. That was a mistake. The Raiders seem to always pick the wrong guy.
I mean,
if
someone runs, I was stunned that the Raiders didn't take Matthew Golden after he ran like a 4.29 or something.
Yeah.
You guys remember Darius Hayward-Bay back in the day?
Yeah.
When he ran whatever 40, it was like, yep, we want that guy. We want the fast guy. Which at the end of the day, you do want the fast guys. If you have someone who can just outrun people, like that is a skill set. But the Raiders do have a comical failure with Henry Ruggs, is a very sad case. But the Raiders, as far as making those mistakes, seem to replicate it over and over again.
Speaking of the fast guy, and I'm sure we'll probably want to wrap it up, right, Jeremy? But Tyreek Hill actually just went down. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he went down with a leg injury.
Yeah.
His, doesn't look too good. I haven't seen it too much, but he's probably either broken leg or ACL injury. So,
yeah, that's not good.
Good luck to Tyreek.
That could be,
injuries.
That could be obviously you don't want to speculate because we don't know, but he's getting up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be one that puts an end to this like that. Yeah, we'll see.
Right. All right. Any last questions, Jeremy, or anything last you want to hit on, Paul?
This is great. I mean, I really appreciate you guys for having me on. It's a lot of fun. You guys run a crisp operation here.
Hey, look, we don't have the best backgrounds or the best what do you call it? Quality, but what we do like to do is hear about everyone's fandom and how they express their fan for the team. I think that's something that I haven't really seen a ton of. So that's kind of the way we like to think of ourselves. So we appreciate you coming on for sure.
It's great. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun.
I have one last question for you, Paul. With the Norse brick and the skull Boston, what is that supposed to represent? Did you just get that in Boston? What is the brick about?
So yeah, I guess everything here, we moved studios a couple of years ago, and then this is just stuff that I had. I don't know how much of it you can actually this is.
We can see Villanova.
Yeah,
Philly right. People say
for my brother went to Villanova. We got Notre Dame here. This is Joe Montana.
Wow.
This is just we almost always win a Vikings one. And then this is just Pineapple Pete that we've had forever.
Pineapple Pete, like that.
Yeah, no, he actually dances. I won't hit it because he dances around.
Really? Okay.
But so the Norse brick is and then this is you guys will know this guy. This is actually Brett Favre helmet. The Norse brick I got in Minnesota when I went to the Vikings Browns game. Of course, we lost to the Brian Hoyer led Cleveland Browns, which is just atrocious. But and it would have come in handy here. The Norse brick was actually in a gift shop, and this is kind of what separates, one of the many things that separates Packers and Vikings fans. You walk into a Viking fan shop, and this is a Norse brick that it's made of foam, so you can throw it at the television without breaking the TV. That is actually what it's made. Got it. If during a game, you can throw this and you're not going to break anything in your house.
Nice. They
don't sell those in Green Bay. Like in Green Bay, there's no such thing as a cheese brick. I mean, you have the cheese.
You can throw this at your TV.
Yeah.
I mean, you have that, but it's that is a positive, fun fan experience. We design products built for rage, which is just, insanity. Jeremy's probably going to go get something unbelievable.
Oh, let's see here. Hold on. Well, this actually, you can break your TV here with this real quick.
Oh, there you go.
This was my dad's back in the day, and had Brett Favre's, or not Brett Favre, Bart Starr's autograph was actually on here. Until he went out one day and he actually played in the dirt with it, and he
Oh, that
that's
sucks.
much. But we do have his autograph on his book. Because my dad lived in Texas at the time, and he was doing like a book signing, so he got his book signed. But yeah, I think it's actually right. Like whatever it was, that was
Wow.
the little spot
that.
there, I believe. But
Now it's the videos that you put together.
Yeah, we gotta. It's gonna be
Gotta
hard
get-
to get that signature back on.
Get
But
that
we
fixed.
gotta.
I have one last question about your setup. The picture behind you, is that a Vikings player running away from a Packers player?
Oh yeah, actually that is. And I just have to say the skull. Wait, hold on. Let me get. Did I drop
Oh
it?
no,
Oh, I
you
dropped it.
You dropped the Boston.
I think it's Skull Boston. It's that's a bar, the 730 Tavern in Boston, in Massachusetts. Is a bar that it's a Viking bar. I've never been there. Now that my friend Will's gonna get mad at me, but I've never been there. The Will, who started the show with me, he's one of the guys who runs the game day operations for the Vikings Game Watch, and they have they talk, right up there with you guys as far as crisp operations go. They have a great game day experience for Vikings fans. So he sent me over some stickers and things. Yeah, that picture was from my brother to my father when he was, I think, like 9. And I believe that is Adrian Peterson running away from who I'm going to guess is. Looks like he says 21, but I'd guess it's inspired by. I'm gonna say it's inspired by Al Harris. So we'll say that's who it is. And yeah, it's a masterpiece in the Farrington family.
Nice.
Yeah, Al Harris, we want the ball. We're gonna score, right? Was that against the Vikings? It was.
No,
right?
that was the
Sorry,
Seahawks.
that was Seahawks. You're right. Sorry.
We had that was
You
the
guys have the
Seahawks.
how did he do that on us?
It was a long time ago.
I won't forget the Joe Webb or Christian Ponder days. Like Christian Ponder's my favorite Viking quarterback ever because he always gets sacked by guys.
Obviously he was.
my favorite Vikings. And then you have Favre, who had his moments with the Vikings, and then he also did us a favor by throwing an interception against the Saints too in the
Yeah, he
championship.
certainly had. That was a great year. No, I can't complain too much.
That was.
That team. Well, yeah, let's not get into that. It's dark.
There we go.
All right, so I think we went a little bit over, but I appreciate you joining, Paul. It was a great conversation, and thank you for being the first division rival to come on our show. That's hopefully an honor from your perspective, but an honor for us to have you.
Just another example of really nice Packer fans driving me crazy how kind these guys are. But no, I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for having me.
That's great. All right, so the last thing we like to do is kind of just where everyone can find you. So give you an opportunity to speak about the podcast where any of our viewers could find you.
So you can go over on YouTube. We're the Paul Farrington Show, and we go live on Sunday multiple times, usually after the NFC North games. Every week, every Packer game, we will have an instant reaction. Our Packer fandom is probably the biggest audience that we have. Wow. So you can catch us after Packers games. After next week we'll be live after the Vikings beat the crap out of the Browns to open Sunday. We'll probably lose, but and then during the week on Tuesdays. So Wednesday we have Andy Herman. You mentioned a few times. Yeah. Andy, Ziggy, and I do a show every Wednesday called Behind Enemy Lines, where we kind of swap back and forth our notes on each other's teams. Then we have our prediction show coming out on Thursday. So YouTube is really the place to find us, Paul Farrington Show. You can also check us out on social at Farrington Show on all the platforms.
Great. I'll have to give you a follow. Jeremy, you go next. You do more than I do.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll say quickly for the X, I'm part of the social media team for our PackReacts, but that's mostly Mike, I'll say, for that part. But you can find me, of course, in the YouTube channel where you can find my GOAT series. You can find me doing the Lambeau Leap, guys, because it's rare for someone to do the Lambeau Leap, so I can actually say I did that. You can also find my latest hype trailer video I did on the Packers-Cowboys game when Micah coming back to return on that, and then also me playing as Jordan Love to open the Sunday Night Football intro. And then I'll be having one video come out this week of the GOAT series, the 2000s decade. So if anybody's a 2000s decade NFL fan, this is the right place for you. And yeah, it's mostly just do Packer content as there as well. Mike,
Yeah, and as Jeremy said, I run the little Twitter page that we have, the little content we put out, mostly me ranting during games.
That's for
But
sure.
other than that, you can find us on PackReacts. We like to be on at least once a week during the season. And if you're watching and want to join the show, please reach out to Jeremy and I. We'd love to have as many guests on as possible. And the last thing I just wanted to say is to give Jeremy a shout out. The hype video that you put out with your partner, or whoever you
Yeah.
worked on,
NA Productions.
NA Productions. That was a great video. So curious to hear more about it offline, Jeremy. But great show, great work product. And
Thank
if
you.
anyone's watching, definitely give that a follow.
Thank you.
Give it a watch. All right, you want to take us out? And thanks again, Paul, for joining. It was great having you on. We'll have to have you on again at some point.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you guys. It's been a blast, and hopefully we're next time we're talking, it's the like 13-2 Vikings and the
Yeah,
maybe go ahead.
Maybe the NFC Championship game. We'll just see who gets the home.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah,
game,
maybe that's what it is. and then we could really have this discussion about championship game versus Super Bowl.
That'd be great.
There we go.
All right, Jeremy, take us out.
Well, we usually say go Pack go, but because Paul's a Vikings fan, we can't say that because that would just throw him out of his win. So he can do his skull cheating chant he took from the Iceland soccer team. If I'm correct, he stole from the Iceland soccer team.
Yeah, people don't talk about that, but skull used to be something that Vikings fans like. It was really like, oh, you're a Viking fan if you know what skull is, and then next thing you know, everyone's doing. I was like, what? But yes.
Really?
I just remember that. But yeah, so the S, you can do your skull chants, Paul, as we usually hand it out for the end of the show. Or you do your Viking blowhorn if you have that. The usual for your intro. But yeah.
You could do like the.
There we go. There we go. So yeah, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Paul, once again for coming on. And folks, you can follow us again on my YouTube channel, Jeremy Hadler, and PackReacts on Twitter. So make sure you give us a follow, like, and hopefully you enjoy his content. We'll be having more guests coming on. We will be having a couple more fun guests like Paul have on. We've had Tom, we've had Paul. This is the most guests we are having this season. I will say that. I don't know what the record is for us, Mike, but this is definitely a record for us.
Season 4, and Jeremy's doing a great job. So Jeremy's our MVP here. So appreciate you coming on again, Paul. Yep.
Oh, for sure.
But that'll do here, folks. We'll see you next time. As always, as Paul would say.